Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to your Hello Haven Mavens podcast. My name is Candace Smiling.
I'm Lauren Lee Harrison.
We're very excited to have you joining us today. We have got an incredible little mini series, and we are so excited to be introducing you to amazing speakers and people who just inspire us. So we're going to invite you to sit back, relax, grab a cup of coffee or maybe a glass of wine, and join us as we take you on a great little adventure into people's lives who inspire us. Okay, hello.
Hello.
We have been enjoying an absolutely amazing day. And so if you're listening into this 8-week mini-series that we have with Hello Haven Mavens, we're really grateful that you joined us. We have said a couple of times that we think we get the most value out of doing this. And maybe that's because we're paying most attention. Maybe. We know that you're probably multitasking as you're listening to this, and we would encourage you to continue doing what you're doing because moms are doers. We heard that today as well. We have a very special guest, and it's kind of a funny story how we met. We're not going to get too far into that, but I'm reminded every time we talk with our guests that way leads on to way, and sometimes you don't know why you're going down a certain path. You just know you need to go that way, and then all of a sudden you're like, that's why. Okay, that makes sense. So we have the lovely Nicole Walker with us on today. Nicole, can you hear us?
I certainly can. Thank you for having me.
Oh, we're so grateful. This is really exciting. So we met Nicole through a friend of a friend, and how that sort of thing goes. And Nicole, you are up to some big things. I would love for you to share your story with us, because I know that when you and I sat down for, well, it was supposed to be for wine, but we were in Utah, so we won't go there. But Enough said, yes. We had a chance to chat, and so I know you have a background that isn't just in what you're doing right now. You've had a career shift and change, and so to walk us through sort of how you became an entrepreneur and how you find yourself where you're at today.
Definitely. It's I forgot about that experience, or I guess that kind of that story, but I think it's a great way for me to express where I came from in terms of what I did for a living prior to what I do now, because it will transition and I think help others understand how you can grow your business and grow your business in a different way than a lot of us are used to. So I spent 16 years in mortgage financing. Tough business. There's lots of ups and downs. I initially started out in more of an operations role, so I got to be the person who decided, whether or not you actually got the loan, and got a great deal of experience with that. One is handling people not being happy and being upset at you, and how you have to navigate that situation. The majority of my career was spent helping those obtain loans and go through that loan process. And it was a great experience with markets constantly going up and down. And when it became time to focus more on purchase business rather than refi business, it's super important to have relationships and partnerships with real estate agents. And as that shift would come into play, I would be one of many who would want to make that more the focus and building those relationships. And so I wanted to find a way to stand out from the others and also put myself in more of a power position, because that's more suiting to my personality. And I found it frustrating that I had to rely upon other people to build up my own business, and felt like kind of out of control. So I didn't like that aspect. So I came across through some research a business coach who was focusing on digital marketing, social media marketing, and I thought this would be a great way for me to give myself that control back, develop these leads as business, and then I could share that with the real estate agents and truly have a partnership and control who I did have this relationship with and these partnerships with. So I did that, and it just kind of led into me getting more excited by helping people build up their business. So even I would have real estate agents who didn't want to work with me because they were really content with who they worked for or were working with, I should say. And I respect that they had that commitment to the other partnership they had, but they would still want me to help them in developing this lead generation business. So that's kind of how I shifted into my new career as a running my own digital ad agency. I did at one point I became partner in a company, but recently I have decided to dive in alone on this, and it's been fantastic. It's a newer transition, having it all to myself, but I love that it allows me to have complete creative control in terms of who I want to work with, what I'm putting out and producing for people, and it allows me to focus on something that's extremely important to me, and that is giving people what I want to receive. So that was a big kind of a customer service tagline that I would utilize in my mortgage business, and I think it's just how I operate in general. So, I want to treat those how I want to be treated. So I certainly would never want to put something out that I wouldn't want to use for myself. And I guess ensure that's really how I kind of transitioned to where I'm at now, and how Candace, you and I met.
Yeah. Well, and I absolutely love that. And I love that you've sort of touched on this transition piece, because I think for a lot of women, and we've been sort of discussing it throughout this mini series, that they may have something they'd like to do, right? Something that when they get home from work and they grab their cup of coffee or their cup of tea and they sit there, they go, what if I did this, right? I know, because I've been that girl, right? What if? What if? And so I love that, throughout our mini series, we've had some guests who have done that, right? They've transitioned out of something, often out of something that was very safe, very figured out, but they knew that they wanted to go do something else and said, well, I think I can make this work. And so maybe talk to us about that transition piece of it. If our listeners, they're probably pausing in what they're doing in this moment and being like, yes, please tell me how I go from thinking about it to doing it. What was your process in that?
That was definitely a difficult one, in the sense that I'm a very analytical person. One could say I'm over analytical. And so with that said, it was a bit nerve-wracking to decide on the transition. But at the same time, I could tell that I was just naturally being forced in that direction because it felt so right. And
naturally being forced. we smiled at that because we're like, yeah, naturally, it's naturally forced. Yeah.
And I could just tell that I was more passionate about that. And so I was giving greater value and helping people build their business. And I could speak so passionately about it because I had I grew my own business. So I knew that I wasn't just trying to sell somebody something for no apparent reason. I was speaking from the heart that I've made my business grow from this. I know that you can too.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. Yeah, it's beautiful. Lily? I'm just really soaking in what she said.
I know, right? It's powerful.
Thank you, Beth. I guess to kind of, I'll keep going here while you guys are soaking in this lovely thought of mine.
Sorry about that.
No, you're okay. I didn't know if you guys had shifted to a question or you were just still kind of...
No, my phone started ringing. And so when we're in transition and process with this, we really focus on the progress piece and not perfection, because our target audience is usually someone who's wondering if they can, because they're wanting to do it right or they're wanting to do it perfect. And we really feel like, Laura Lee really challenged me a number of months ago to start doing lives, which absolutely have transformed my business and allowed me to have a greater impact. And I think that is even when we're talking about in terms of stepping out as an entrepreneur, you don't always have to be the candle. You can sometimes, just be the little match, right? That gets things started, and then you have no idea the impact that that's going to have, right? So doing a podcast like this, maybe they don't listen this month or next month. Maybe they'll listen for a couple of years and they stumble upon us and they go, oh, wow, this is still applicable today, and I'm going to try this because. So I think that's really, really huge. Now, I love that you were focusing on, the networking piece and providing value, because I also have the belief that if you provide enough value, then everything else takes care of itself. So how cool is that you now have the opportunity to provide a value and a service that you can be like, no, this works because And so for our people who like to serve and give, how powerful is that for them if they're looking at doing their entrepreneur thing?
Completely. And, I completely understand too, people kind of feeling hesitant and can they do it? And I went through a phase like that myself. It's partly what made me transition into what I'm doing is having that, getting out of the comfort zone is difficult, but once you do, that is where the real transformation will happen. And though it doesn't feel 100% comfortable or enjoyable at the moment, I assure you and everyone listening, and Candace, you could probably speak to this, and Laura Lee, you as well, that you will, after you see what the results from that stepping out of that comfort zone, that's where you'll become happy, and you are willing to take more and more chances and risks. Like you said, doing live videos. Once you start doing it, just get your feet wet with it, and then it starts going from there. And back to what you said too, Candace, about like the perfection thing. Yes, I used to like stall with what I was doing, even on putting out, work for clients, because I wanted it, quote, perfect. Mm-hmm. And it was a hard concept for me to understand that, well, that doesn't exist, for one. And so just putting something out there, your best foot forward, of course, not trying to just put anything out there, but just making that step. You can always fine tune things. You can always improve. It's just making those steps, and it's the steps that are going to lead you towards success.
Absolutely. I feel like perfectionism is such a thing that needs to be talked about on a bigger level. And I myself am a ridiculous perfectionist, and I'm really hard on myself. And I think a lot of women out there are as well. If I'm not being the perfect mom, if I'm not being the perfect employee, if I'm not being the perfect wife, that's my worth. And for myself, stepping out of that perfectionism and just allowing what's going to happen. If it's not, as long as I know I've put my best foot forward and put my best effort into it, that is perfect.
Yep, exactly.
We experience that even by doing this podcast, Nicole, in that we run into a lot of people who will say things like, I've wanted to do podcasting and I haven't yet.
Mm-hmm. Live videos too.
Live videos.
People won't do live videos.
And I'm like, well, yeah. And it was interesting because I met up with a woman from my network who said she's been enjoying watching. She's like, I remember your first live and I watched that, and the difference with which you do them now. And she says, to be honest with you, Candace, you even carry yourself different since you started putting yourself out there. And I said, to be honest with you, as an introvert, it's been really freeing to be like, hey, here I am. And, that's only scary for the first few times. Then it starts to get easier and easier and easier because you realize that other people are thinking the same thing. And that's a really powerful piece because, what messages are not being shared because someone's worried about what someone else might think or worry about. And most of the time, they're just like, I wish I could do what you're doing.
There's a big piece of that, too, that a lot of people out there, when they do put themselves out there, they do get a little bit of backlash. And I've had tiny bit, nothing really that would ever make me stop. And that's, I think, a beautiful piece, too, as I move forward. And I've really moved into a place of, I don't care. If you don't like what you see, if you don't like what I'm wearing, if you don't like how my hair is, or you don't like what I'm saying, don't watch. It's pretty simple.
The best part about that is that's actually the perfect way for you to weed out who you're trying to attract, right? If they're not interested, you don't want their interest in the first place. They're not relating to you. They're not hearing what you're saying. They're not relating to the information you're trying to convey. And so that's okay. That person doesn't need to be in your life, or you can blow off what they're thinking because it's not a necessity. So I like that. And then back to your perfection piece, because this is such a big thing for me too. I think there's a quote that I have on my Facebook page. I for sure know it's on my Instagram, but it says, and I thought it was perfect to me because it's something I struggle with as well and like deeply. But the quote is basically, striving for progression, not perfection. So I think that's something great for you to keep in mind because that was very helpful for me to come across.
Stealing that. It'll be on our Facebook. Absolutely.
Well, and even with that, there's this idea of like, well, it's stealing, but we all believe in that sharing economy, right? And Right? That's one of the reasons why you and I had the opportunity to meet, is because I was down house sitting, and we've talked about that a couple of times, because we do, we live so outside the box, Laura Lee and I, so that other people feel like they can live just a little bit outside of their comfort zone. And, you and I got to meet because I said, hey, I'm coming home from California and I'm going to make a stop, where you live, and we're going to get together and be face to face and talk about stuff. And I mean, how cool is that? Right? In that not only do we live in a world where we can choose to work at what we love. And like, I loved how you said that you were giving more energy, more passion, you were more lit up about it, and you really just kind of followed your bliss, right? To go into the woo-woo section of the of the podcast, but you just followed it, and you said, this feels better, I'm going to do this is a good fit, and I can see this being something profitable.
Yeah, and quite honestly, it was a lot easier for me to make it more profitable because I felt so passionate about it. So that's probably something that those considering going into being an entrepreneur, something they should consider is, if you do have a strong feeling that being an entrepreneur, whatever the job is for you, though it can be scary, that passion is, again, that's what's going to carry you to have the success. Because I did great with mortgage, but honestly, I've come to a lot more success and on a quicker basis in being a digital marketer, because I'm much more excited about it.
Right. That's beautiful. That's awesome. Well, we are up to our 20-minute area, so we know you're a busy lady, so we're going to let you go. But before you go, we would love if you would leave our listeners with one piece of advice that you just want everybody to know.
Okay.
And then how can our listeners find you if they need a digital marketer? How can they connect with you so that they can reach out to you?
That is great. I'm currently, because my shift into my own business is so new, my website is under construction. So the best way to be able to reach me would be on Facebook, Nicole Walker being the name, or you can also give me a call. I'm very open to speak to people, transparent, and always happy to help. So my direct phone number is 801-518-1939, or they can also email me at Nicole at rightpathmarketingconsulting.com. In regards to the last piece of advice, I think the best thing, something that I think it was like another kind of quote that I saw that spoke to me was, with business, the goal is not to be successful, the goal is to be valuable. And once you are valuable, instead of chasing success, you will attract it. So I think that's really something that sticks with me, and hopefully will stick to some of your listeners.
Well, that's amazing. Well, we'll make sure that we post links as we're able to, so people can find you. Certainly, Laura Lee and I are grateful to be working with you and what we're putting together in terms of being able to bring a unique service like the digital marketing, which is a very cluttered marketplace right now, but finding the right person to deliver the right service is certainly the name of the game. So if our listeners are someone who's looking for that piece, Nicole would be a phenomenal resource, and can sort of refer you from there. So for me, I'm really grateful that we had the opportunity both to connect, and also that you could create some time for us to get on the podcast today.
Yes, no, thank you both again for inviting me, and please know that I am grateful to have also, luckily through the universe working its way to meet both of you.
So, someday we'll share that story. Someday. In the meantime, let's just let our listeners know synchronicity is always in play, and you end up where you need to end up, regardless of where you start. So with that, we're going to say a big huge thank you. If our listeners want to find more of this mini-series, you can do so at SoundCloud. That's where we're currently hosting. Hello Haven Mavens is the after the /. Also on Facebook, same thing, Hello Haven Mavens. Laura Lee and I both have our own personal pages, so you're welcome to connect with us through there, and then also through Instagram, havens.mavens. So we're excited. From myself, thank you for joining us today, and
thank you. Have a wonderful day, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.